Hola, gringas y gringos, and welcome to
Gringos Are Us.
Expats with a Plan.
I'm Mark.
I'm Gina.
This week, we got special guests that are going to help you navigate getting a rental in Mexico. Coming up next.
And welcome back. We are so excited this week to finally be able to revisit some friends of ours from my place at Querétaro, Liz and Romy. We did do a video with them about 3 years ago, right up here, which a lot of people told us, and they were not wrong, it was very hard to hear. We had a lot of background noise with the fountains, but we're about to rectify that.
Rookie mistake. It
Yes.
is what it is.
It is. So welcome, guys, for being here.
Hola!
I'm so excited for having us.
Awesome.
We are super, super, super happy to be here.
Yes.
And we are happy to have
Now, we can tell you, it hasn't been 3 years since we've seen them.
Oh, no.
No.
We've become good friends in the interim and everything else, but we wanted to get back on video so you guys could get some information that will help you as you make the move to Mexico.
This is actually the first video in a 2-video series. Today's video is going to be about the rental process in Querétaro. Video number 2 is going to be about purchasing a home. All right, so Liz and Romy, tell us a little bit about yourselves, my place at Querétaro, and how you got started.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Who goes first?
Let me do it
The
this
younger
time.
one. The younger one. Okay, go.
So I used to do something else in life. I was totally related to technology. And then I just decided to assist people that was coming into town just because I wanted to continue practicing English. And then in one of the transactions, while I started as a realtor without knowing I was doing that, that was like more than 6 years.
Ago, yeah.
Yeah, and I was assisting someone else doing a transaction, and I was having the customer. Romy was having
I was a listing
the
agent,
house,
right? Which
right?
I'm
The listing
usually
agent.
not.
Yeah, and then we finished that rental. It was a rental very successfully, and that's how my place at Querétaro started. Romy started asking me, like, we should get together. And I was like, okay, let's do it. It took us some time, but finally we created together this concept of my place at Querétaro. Now help us understand what is my place at Querétaro.
Well, okay, yeah, I've got something to add to that. So I was working with my sister-in-law.
Oh.
And I remember during that transaction you're talking about, you're referring to, I kept coming back to my sister-in-law saying, you know what, I met a really young girl. She's new. She doesn't know too much, but man, she's going to go far. I remember that. I said, let's introduce her and bring her to the fold. I introduced them. They liked each other, and then we ended up working together, and my sister-in-law went off to do something else. Anyway,
Yeah.
So that was about 6 years ago. As far as background, I've been managing properties for over 30 years. So that's helped me to get my feet wet into this, right? And then
She started when she was 10.
so yes, and we love what we do. We really do.
Yeah.
So what is my place at Querétaro? So it is we're a small operation. We only take a handful of clients at a time. We like to think we're a boutique because we work really closely with our clients. We like to work deep, not broad, which a lot of realtors or real estate agents do. So we take our clients by the hand, and we're with you from beginning to end until you've moved in and even beyond.
We can attest to that.
Yes.
Indeed.
One of the things that make us feel very happy is to be customer oriented. Like, yes, this is a business, but what I really enjoy is making people happy. And then at the beginning, when we start working with and for them, it's like, oh, they give us sometimes challenges to find certain characteristics for the properties. And then what I love is when we give back the challenge to them when they have happy problems choosing for the best property that fits their needs.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So, is the process unique in Querétaro?
Our process?
Our process is
Ours is very unique.
I would say theirs is very unique.
Yeah, we can get into that later.
Yeah, one of the things that I mean, with us, we became friends before we ever even became clients.
Yeah.
You know, and what really is interesting is out of all of our friends that we have here in Querétaro, the overwhelming majority of them are also customers of Lisa and Romy, and you know, there isn't a one of them that has anything bad to say. Their experiences were all outstanding.
In the rental process, do you find that there are differences across Mexico
Yeah.
and even with the United
Yeah.
States?
Yeah, I would say so, especially if you're comparing towns that have expats or a tourist town like a beach town. It seems to be that their requirements are a little bit laxer because I think that landlords figure, you know, if this one doesn't work out, you know, there's a line of expats, you know, waiting to rent my property. So
Yeah.
they don't have as many requirements. Querétaro, on the other hand, and I would say most major cities in Mexico, which would be Mexico City, Guadalajara, Puebla, Monterrey, and Querétaro included, it's more formalized and they ask for more. We have more requirements.
Yeah. So one thing that Romeo always mentioned is that cities like Querétaro are more related. People come because of work reasons. It's not really because the company. Well, yes, the companies are bringing people, but what I mean is not necessarily for international companies bringing their employees. Of course, there are some, but it's not the main point here. So we receive a lot of people from other states, mainly from Mexico City, and that's why the requirements are a little bit tougher or
Stricter.
difficult. Yeah, that's the reason. Even between the states in the and we are talking here about the central part of Mexico. It might be different in other states in the south or in the north that are not touristy. So even between Jalisco and Querétaro, I recently heard that Jalisco is getting like really tough to get a rental there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So I think the key here, folks, is that what you need to do is not try and navigate this on your own. You need to find a professional like Lisa and Romy to help get you through this process. And what would be the things that they would look for?
Well, certainly somebody who's certified and licensed.
Yeah.
Somebody who has minimum of experience, at least 3 to 5 years at least. And what we were talking about just recently off camera is we're mentioned in a guide. So that's a no-brainer. But a lot of our clients also come from Facebook groups, for example, for expats in Querétaro, and they'll ask in the group, and whoever's mentioned the most, that's what they usually who they go with.
Yeah.
So that's one way.
Look for reviews as well.
Yeah.
I think it's important. And ask your realtor, whatever you are, if they have experience working with foreigners or newcomers, because that's also a key point. Some of the realtors are like, oh, they just forget you are not from here, you are not aware of the culture. Let's not talk about even the language. They just assume things will be done similar to what they do with nationals. And in our experience, that's not the case. The mindset is very different.
It is different.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we learned that the hard way.
Why is that, Gina?
Well, you know, there are rules to how these processes.
There's some do's and don'ts, and we started right off with a don't right off the
Don't.
beginning.
So why don't we start off with that process, if you don't
Okay.
mind?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so when our clients or clients to be They approach us, they reach out, we send them a welcome email, and we ask them to sign up for a discovery getting together, either on Zoom or in person. Because that way we get to know who you are, and you get to know us, and we figure out, are we going to be a good match for each other, right? So, and then we talk about what you're looking for. That's really, really important. And we also explain how the process works, because it's very different than in the States. And that's not what happened with us. Oops.
Oops. Yeah.
Unlike the U.S., don't get aggressive and think that you're helping, because you're not helping yourself. And the case in point here was, I was already looking for houses when we found this one online, and was like, well, you know what? I'll see if I can schedule a viewing. Well, that triggers a whole different set of financial splits and everything else. So it's like, do everything as far as your research, but let them do all the contacting.
Yes. Let them drive it.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. And that, you want to explain why? Why it's important for us to be the first point of contact?
Oh, yeah. So at least in Querétaro, the agent that provides the information of the customers, potential tenants that will be
Which is
using
us.
the house,
Which is us.
yes.
We're not listing agents.
Yes.
No.
So that's when they grant us the access to the property, but also it's about the commission. We get paid, we share the commission with them, and then they give us our 50% of the commission. If you guys contact them and give your information and everything, it could be even in Facebook, in any social media.
Filling out a form.
The forms,
asking,
yes.
just asking.
WhatsApp. That's any contact that you do before is dangerous for us.
Yeah, well, it's considered, the deal here is, so one side is a listing agent who has the property, and the other
Right.
side is us. We are relocators, real estate, but also relocation. So the first point of contact, in order for us to make a commission, is that we contact, fill out forms, comment on Facebook. Oh, that property looks great. Could we have more information? If our client does that, then we won't get paid, because the first point of contact wasn't us, it was the client. And so, you want to go ahead and explain?
They got paid. Trust me. We screwed it up. We made sure they were whole on the
We
whole
made
thing,
sure
because
they got paid.
that was our mistake. But so to make it easier on yourself, if you have any question, you contact them, because they are great about going, no, stop, just
Exactly.
let us do, thank you for finding the place. You have interest, we'll get it. Another aspect that comes out on this is the fact that they will protect you. And that was the part that really helped a lot. They're the ones that went over all the contracts. They're the ones that made sure that our best interests were the ones that were protected. And that part is not always the case when you work with some other people.
Right.
Yeah.
So please explain how you do that.
And I just want to backtrack just a tad, because you said contracts, and people might be thinking, what do you mean, how many contracts? Well, you get the first rough draft, you go over it, and then you send your corrections, right?
Yes.
And so will the owner. And so by the time we sit down and sign, we might have read 2 or 3 different versions, correct?
Yeah,
So that's what
sometimes
I think you
more.
were meaning.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like buying a house. It is sort of a negotiation of, case in point, let's say you find something that's a small problem in the house, and you go, we would like to have this fixed. And they go, no, well then, you know what, we may have to go on to a different house. But if they go, oh, sure, we'll take care of that, then they put that in the contracts, and that's now an addendum. The other thing that Romy and Lise did for us was they put in there that anything that we found within the next 30 days after moving in would be addressed as well.
Yeah.
So, You want the coverage for the derriere.
From moment one, when we are listening to you and your needs, and sometimes we ask you questions like, why are you wanting this or that? Like, because what we really want to know is how we can, or what are the characteristics or of the spaces of the house or whatever property it is. So based on your family, based on lifestyle, based on, so when we go and start visiting the properties, that's what we pay attention to.
Exactly.
And that's part of the protection, kind of what we give you, because we say, okay, this house is very good, but look, for instance, the playground is just in front, or you'll have the view that you needed, or this room will give you the enough, the silence that you were needing because you work online, or you can take your pet to the veterinarian shop or to the veterinarian place that is close. Just come with me, I'll take you to the corner. So all those aspects, when we hear during the conversation, the initial conversation, we put it in place, not only when we are looking for properties, but also when we are visiting properties. And that's just another example how we protect you, how we look up for you whenever you work with us.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, we will talk about priorities, like what's a deal breaker, what isn't a deal breaker, right? And this is interesting because through the process when we're visiting properties, our clients will begin to understand that maybe that thing that was supposed to be really important is, falling by the wayside and it's not that important. And so this is a selective process. We're never going to find the perfect house. Perfection does not exist.
Right.
But we'll find the closest one to your needs. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, folks, we always had a dishwasher in the U.S. We always used a dishwasher. We got to Mexico, didn't have them, got used to washing dishes. Now we have a house with a dishwasher, and we don't use it. So, I mean,
you may think you need a dishwasher, but you may end up finding out that you really didn't need it that much.
Yeah.
Or the garbage disposal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you got a house that's furnished, but something that's important
Yes.
to talk about is unfurnished properties in Querétaro, because it is not a tourist town, does not come with a fridge, mostly, no microwave oven, no washer dryer, no dishwasher, but certainly the stovetop, usually the oven, and the hood, and the water heater, and that's it. So there's a lot of cultural stuff that needs to be explained when we first meet, right?
Mm-hmm. I want to add two things, just to reinforce that we also take good care of all the legal process that we will shortly explain, and that's a little bit complicated, and that's another reason why you need to have an ally with you to work with and for you. Common question that we receive is, or even a request, short-term rentals.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In Querétaro, that's not possible. I mean, at certain point it is, through either Airbnb or some other platforms. But why is not that common? I think it's very common somewhere else, but not in Querétaro.
Yeah.
So if you are thinking to come down and scout the city, it's best for you to go to an Airbnb, avoid holidays, because those are tough to get when there are holidays. I remember when you were here, when was that? On December, like 3 years ago?
We were here at Christmas.
Yeah. So I just want to say that here in Querétaro, the rentals are at least 1 year, because there is a legal process involved and like kind of a protection. And just because that's just a reason, the legal process asks us to have at least 12 months leases. So you must know about it. You must be very aware of that.
And a good way of doing it, literally, I mean, even though we were familiar with them and the whole thing, we were on an Airbnb on the east side of town when we decided, okay, yeah, we're going to plop down someplace here in Querétaro for at least a year. And that's when we started the whole process. So, you can use Airbnb and then use that as your temporary home while you're searching for a home.
The process
Are we
was
ready?
much more complicated than I ever imagined it would be. Thank goodness we had them.
Yes, even as a national, I tell my friends, even as a national, I would get somebody who knows what they're doing, because all the legal stuff and the legal jargon and just the process. So what Liz was talking about, 12-month, 1-year lease. It's tied to a entity which is a law firm specialized in real estate law. And the contract that they draft, but it's a protection, it's called Póliza Jurídica.
Not policia. Just so you guys understand that.
Yeah.
Gina got it right.
It's a legal policy.
Yes. And it protects both parties. You might find on Facebook that a lot of people are griping and complaining about it, but we really promote it because it gives us legal footing. If it turns out that your landlord isn't so great as we thought he might be, or she, and we can always go to the attorney if something isn't working. And without a póliza jurídica, you're really a sitting duck. There's not much to be done.
Right.
That can be done.
Yeah, and people think that they can save that money, but what we say is it's better to have it and not to use it than having a problem and not to have it. That could be
Yes.
really challenging. And the Póliza Jurídica works for the whole year. So even when you return the property, in Mexico we need to return the property
Legally.
Yeah, legally. That means
Physically.
there you go. Yeah, it's very important that you guys know. We have had few cases where they just leave, and that's very legal in Mexico.
That's not legal.
Yeah. So the point is, you have all this protection for both parties, right?
Yes,
That's
yes.
valid for both parties, the landlord and the tenants, during the whole year. For whatever it might happen. Some owners are like the first years, some landlords are like first year, like great people, very friendly and everything. On the second year, you say, oh, I want to save this money. And then guess what? When you return the property, it's like, oh, those friends doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
It gives everybody recourse, and that's what's important. Is without it, you really are, at their mercy. So, protect your derriere again. Get one.
And also, it's important to note, Liz, that most realtors in Mexico or Querétaro, I can speak for Querétaro,
Yes.
they won't follow through the entire process even when you deliver the property. They kind of let the tenants or the clients do it on their own, and we don't. We're with you. We talk to the attorney from the Póliza Jurídica when your rental is about to expire. We can do we try to, unless you don't want to, but we encourage our clients to have us come over. We'll help you out to do a walkthrough, and we'll tell you, look, I think you might need to, clean up this wall. So why? Because we want to ensure that you get most of your deposit back. We'll go over your utility receipts, make sure they're paid in full. And after the 30 days or 45 days, because each contract is different, than that'll say when you're getting your deposit back, we're on the tenant and saying, when are you going to return the deposit? Well, sometimes I've sat down with some of them and looked at their numbers and say, okay, you need to return this much back. Most people don't do that. Most realtors don't do that.
Yeah, and that's why we read and listen to a lot of complaints about the last deposit. About the deposit. They don't want to pay the last month of rent because they won't get back the deposit. It's a whole process and a whole culture with this Póliza Jurídica. And I wanted to add that it's not only when you work with us, it's not only the Póliza Jurídica that we make sure is with you, but also we are with you for the whole year, and Romeo will say, and beyond.
Yeah, kind of like Buzz
May
Lightyear.
I just add that not only were they looking out for our best interests with this legal document, they came over and they literally counted the silver. They counted the silverware. They made sure the water ran and was hot. They tested every light. They tested the air conditioning system. I mean, every detail of everything in this home was written down somewhere.
Yep.
The
And-
pluses, the minuses, the things that cause concerns, all were included in there. And we can say this, our landlord has been very gracious, and the things that we have brought up have been addressed or are in the process of being addressed. One of them was not a quick fix, so it's still being worked on, but progress is being made.
Yep.
That's great. And also, we brought some of our tradesmen, remember?
Yes.
The blinds had to be fixed, and so I sent our carpenter over because they're wooden blinds. He took care of it. We've sent you our plumber. We've sent you our technician for your, what was it, your oven?
Yes.
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 So,
Yes, that they're the unbelievable source of help, when you need it.
I think it's important to note that when you hire Lees and Romy to represent you, you hire them for that year.
Yeah,
Yes.
basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. We're with you.
Yeah. Well, if you allow us, of course.
And there are clients that they jump on the bike, they have their training wheels, and after 3-4 months it's like, whoo, buy the training wheels, and we check in on them from time to time. We have some clients like that, and they don't need us, so we're not going to get in your way either. One of the complaints we hear a lot, and even read on Facebook groups, for example, is that the Póliza Jurídica really favors the landlord over the tenant. And I don't agree completely, and I'm going to tell you why. When they're doing the background check, the Póliza Jurídica they do the background check on both parties. So they'll do it on the tenant, but they also do it on the landlord. They will ask for a copy of the deed. They will go into the system and make sure that property is legit. They will also check to see that the property taxes have been paid in full for that year. We've had a lawyer once say, oh, you can't rent this property out because they owe 2 years, and you're going to have the Mexican IRS knocking at your client's door, and they might be, have legal problems. So know that that's absolutely happening. Now, on the tenant's end, on your end, they will also do a background check. They'll ask you one, obviously, for some form of ID, which will be your passport. Everything's in digital. And your residency card. It can be temporary or permanent. You cannot rent in Querétaro as a tourist because that means you can just get up and leave. Correct. Right? So that's why you need to have a residency card. All digital. You only take these documents on the day when you sign the lease so that the lawyer can just, check that it's your passport and it's your residency card. That's number one. Number two, you will be asked for proof of income. Proof of income, 3 times the amount of the rent that you're looking to pay. All right, and you need to show your 3 previous bank statements or pay stubs
or any kind of proof of income.
Correct. And finally, they will ask for some form of references. How many, we don't know. Every Póliza Jurídica company is a little bit different, but on average, they'll probably ask for 2 or 3 personal, could be friends, and 2 or 3 family. Now,
that are anywhere, right?
Yeah.
In this world.
yeah, and they don't have to be in Mexico. You have to provide email address or a WhatsApp number. They will be texting them because most of the lawyers do not speak English.
Right.
And another thing, the Póliza Jurídica costs only 35% of 1 month's rent. In the States, you have to pay renter's insurance. So just, if you do a mental switch and think, instead of paying for that, this is what we pay for here, and it protects us.
Yeah, I want to talk about what does it mean to have a lawyer watching for both sides, for the interest of both parties. Because some people might think, attorneys, that could be a problem, right? And that doesn't, that in Querétaro, that's not the case. If there is a situation in the property, they will mainly try to get a win-win point between the parties. Mm-hmm. And so it's not something like litigious or this law says this or that, now you have to pay this amount. No, it's nothing like that. They work mainly as facilitators, of course, taking care of the law, watching the law in Querétaro, by the way, not the law from anywhere else, but in the law in Querétaro, and say, okay, this is what the law says. This is a point. This is what the law says. Let's get to an agreement, and that's all about. So please do not be afraid of them when you hear, oh, they are investigating me. They are trying to figure out if you're gonna be responsible to pay the rent and this utilities and just yeah. So that's the main purpose of having the attorneys for the Póliza Jurídica.
Yes.
Is it accurate to say that often without this policy that it leans toward the rights of the renter more often than the landlord?
Absolutely. Mexican law favors tenants.
See,
So sometimes when we're interpreting clause per clause for our clients, we'll say, this feels like it's lopsided. Well, yes, because it's creating some form of balance because the law favors tenants. Believe me, we've evicted a couple or two or three folks in our 30-year process. So it doesn't happen often, but the law will protect the tenants over the landlords.
I wanted to say that this law process applies to nationals and to non-nationals. So
Oh,
don't
yeah.
think it's just, because they see us with green eyes, with dollars or whatever money. No.
and they absolutely did contact my references.
Oh, yeah.
In the United States. They called his mother. They called my daughter.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
That's
good.
They did. She thought it was a little funny that they wanted to know how long she has known me.
Her entire life.
That's right.
And my mom described him as a very courteous young man.
Okay.
But then that process also included that I needed to have a guarantor.
Let's talk about the guarantor.
Okay.
It's becoming more common, sadly. Imagine the attorney having all these scenarios where people is not responsible, right? So now they are asking for either a guarantor or a cosigner, someone else besides you, and that will not live in the property, that is legally responsible as you to pay the rent and to pay the utilities in case you suddenly disappear.
Yeah.
And there are workarounds for this, but it's becoming tougher. It wasn't like this like 3 years ago, 2 years ago, but now we see it more and more. And it's even very hard for nationals to get a cosigner. Sometimes they ask not only for the person, but also to show proof of income, 3 times the amount of the rent,
Yeah.
or a property, like the deed, property deed, in order to see that this cosigner can protect or can be responsible.
Question would be though, if you rent it once, does that guarantor then start to disappear as far as the requirement if you have a history?
Mm-hmm.
Do they still require it, or is that something that you can go, they have a good history of paying?
It depends a lot of the combination of the relationship of the property owner, the landlord, but also the Póliza Jurídica.
Okay.
See, this is important because it's the landlord who gets to choose what Póliza Jurídica company they want to work with. Some Póliza Jurídicas are stricter than others.
Okay.
Yeah, and whenever we are working for our customers, we mainly focus on foreigners, on newcomers or foreigners. Let me call it like that.
Extranjeros.
Extranjeros. And so having a cosigner is difficult for nationals. So what we try to do, and it's not always possible, is to filter properties for cases like you, that you don't have a cosigner. And again, there are some workarounds, and I think I'm gonna mention them, like putting possibly 2 deposits or some months upfront. There is people that propose us I'll pay the whole year in order to get a discount. Well, that doesn't work like that in Mexico. First, I don't think you'll get a discount or a big discount. Number two, it's risky for you because you don't know what is going to be the relationship with this landlord, landlady for the whole year, and they will have your full year and they might not get you back any penny, right? So it's challenging. But to deposit is still something that
2 deposits is something that is okay.
Yeah, we try to avoid as much as we can, but sometimes that's the only resource that we have for properties. Yeah.
Especially if you have pets, right? When there's pets.
See, or furnish, or like with fancy furniture or bigger houses.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I did have to have a guarantor. We were lucky enough we have a friend who was willing to step up and do that. Now, let me explain very quickly. When we were signing that policy, we had to sign, both of us, every page, front and back. It was like being at the signing, the closing of a mortgage. That is literally what it was like.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, it was a little overwhelming. So, can you tell us what are some of the major differences between people from the U.S. and what they're used to seeing in rentals compared to how things are in Querétaro?
Yeah, I'll explain the first one.
Okay,
And so
sure.
on. So in Querétaro, you can start renting the property like any day during the month. So what you do, for instance, if the rent starts on the 13th of January or September, whatever, then you pay. That's when you pay the first month of rent. The second month of rent is gonna be the day 13 of each
Every
month.
Yeah, you
every
just
month.
cycle.
Yeah.
And you have a 5-day grace.
See, and that's another. That was my Spanish. That's the other difference. So they give you here by law up to 4 days, starting the 13th. And remember, the 13 is just an example. 13, 14, 15. 17 up to the 17 to consider that you're still paying on time. Why do they do that? Because they think that they might be like an exception, emergency, or whatever. So that's why they give you extra days, and you won't be penalized because it'll be considered to be paid on time. Yeah.
A lot of our clients will say, well, should I change the utilities to my name? No, that's a major no-no. Going back to the Mexican laws favoring tenants, the utility bills must stay always in the owner's name because it has been known in the past, many years ago, people would change the utilities to their names as tenants, and then they can squat and then they can take possession of the property. So it's not like in the States. You either take the physical bill and go pay it at a 7-Eleven, the equivalent, or you do it online through the app, but the bills always stay on the landlord's name, in the landlord's name.
Another question I'm just remembering about utilities is the water will be available, electricity will be available. You don't need to have new contracts for this. So everything will be available. The difference is that you'll pay for whatever you are using while you are living in the property. And that's very important. People say like, oh, but I need to do a new contract. That's there. And another question that they ask us is, are utilities included in the rent payment? So usually the answer is not. Few exceptions. In certain locations of the city that might happen, but what is most common is whatever you use while living there, you just have to pay it. And there are several places to pay. Like you can even pay in the farmacias. It's very flexible. It's very easy to do it. If you want to pay online, well, we can help you with that too.
Yep.
So let's talk about how people hire you to represent them and what your process is.
All right, so how do people find us? We're mentioned in the guide, and people can find us in social media. We're in Querétaro. If you belong to any of the expat groups, we're mentioned there profusely. And we have a Facebook page that's called My Place at Querétaro. We also have a website, myplaceatqueretaro.com, and we're on Instagram.
And you will find all those links down below.
And the WhatsApp, don't forget the WhatsApp.
And the WhatsApp.
Yeah, you can shoot us a WhatsApp.
Do you guys recommend selling it, or renting sight unseen if somebody was like, I've got to come down here and I've got to get it quick? Is that a positive, or I can tell by the face already? That's probably going to be, no, we'd rather you come down and see and let us show you.
Yeah, we've done it. We have done it, and it's a mixed bag. Especially if we don't know our clients, it's kind of hard to do that. We would just prefer for you to come down.
Yeah, it's too much responsibility to do that.
Yeah.
But so what we propose instead is you come down, you know the city, we show you the city from the real estate point of view. We have this service called Colonia Tour.
Which means what, Mark?
Neighborhood.
There you go.
Very good. And what we do is based on the initial conversation where when we pay too much attention to what you're saying, we will define a list of possible locations, colonias, neighborhoods to take you to. And we are pretty flexible. We will pick you, we will take you to those locations while we are driving with you. Then you have us. Romy says you can pick our
my brain. Pick our brains.
Pick our brains. You can ask us as much as you want to. Sometimes we need, water because we talk so much. But anyway, we take you to each of the colonias. We explain you why we think this location is good for you based on the initial conversation. We show you where the stores are, or the groceries, or the farmacia, or the hospital, or the schools, or the dog parks, or the fast ways to go to the airport. That's another common question we receive, and so on. It might take any time between
an hour and a half up to 5. Now, I think it's important to let them know how many years have you been here, so you know the city.
Yeah, so 16 years so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
And me, I lost count, but 40 was the last time.
And so tell us a little bit about the concierge services that you offer.
Ooh. We created that concept 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we realized that people needed help after they move in, so they're settling in services. So we need to set up our internet, because that is the only utility that if it's not already existent in the house, the previous tenant might have, just canceled their account, and you can open a new one. But water, gas, and electric, no, that stays in the landlord's name. So we can help you set up internet. If there's already a contract under the owner's name, that's fine. We can also help you upgrade the speed, downgrade it, because you might not want to pay a lot. It depends. What else do we do as concierge?
Bank.
Oh, yeah.
A bank account, that's very common. And then in order to do that, we need to do previously a phone number, because the security for the banks is attached to a national phone number.
Yep.
And then another previous requirement or pre-requirement is the Mexican tax number. In order to bank account, the banks ask us for that.
Which is called a RFC.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
And you guys facilitate that as well as helping people
All of
get their
that.
RFCs.
All of that.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of that.
We've been known, I don't know if we're going to continue to do that, but we've been known, you've helped people buy cars.
That's true.
And get their license.
Driver's license. Plates.
Translation services.
Emergency. What about the emergency?
Oh, we've done that.
And doctor's appointments, because we have gotten our dentist appointments done. They were the ones who found us Dr. Nicole. Thumbs up to Dr. Nicole. She was great.
Okay, yeah.
Another person just recently, we needed to connect. We connected her with a pain doctor So that's like,
Oh, yeah.
thanks God, I think that we have a good idea of how life is in Querétaro.
Oh, yeah.
So we can figure out, if we don't know the right person, we can help you figure out what is the best route to take.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you connect me with a good plastic surgeon?
Oh my God. We can.
They can. Let's see. Plumber, electrician,
Oh, yeah.
person a technician to fix the stove,
Yep.
exterminator.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, they know everybody.
The carpenter too.
Carpenter, because we've managed properties for so long, we have access to the trades.
And the best part is they vetted them. If they don't live up to their
Standard.
expectations, they aren't getting a call back. So it's like, no, if you get it from them, you're gonna get somebody who knows what they're doing. And
Yeah.
that part's very good.
Is there anything that we haven't touched on yet regarding rental process and your services?
I don't think so.
Be prepared to enjoy the adventure and let us do the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Oh, and they do.
And they do.
And we literally just sat and watched them.
No,
It was like a flurry of activity, and I was in awe.
the one thing that comes out of it though is that folks, the thought of trying to do this on our own, no. No, that becomes a big no. So do yourself a favor.
Oh.
Start your life off here in Mexico the best way. If you're going to be moving to Mexico, make sure you get a certified person. If you're fortunate enough to come here to
Yeah.
Querétaro, boom, these ladies
Yeah.
right here will get you taken care of like nobody else in the city.
Unless you have a strong command of Spanish
Yeah.
and you can read legalese in Spanish, 8 double-sided pages of it, and know exactly what you're getting into, you need someone to help you.
And you have a good understanding of the colonias here in, Querétaro, because, do you know where you want to live? Because there's a lot of different ones. It's a big city, folks. So, do yourself a favor, get somebody to help you so that it all starts out on the right foot.
We'll be very happy to have you here. Contact us as soon as you're ready to scout the city or move here.
Yep.
And that will be our video with My Place at Querétaro with Liz and Romy. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Round one.
Next video we do with them is going to be all about purchasing your home. And that is a wrap for this week's video. We are Gringos R Us.
Expats with the plan.
Remember, we're doing it. You can too, with their help.
Absolutely.
Right here, a few videos you might want to watch.
No, the hockey game's on.
Goodness. Hasta la próxima.
Adios.
Adios.